Alright, here's the initial startup screen for Blender. You can move around by using either the middle mouse button or the scroll button. You hold the scroll button down and you can rotate the object. If you use the shift key and scroll, you pan it around like that. To select objects, you right click on them. So I can right click on that. This is a camera over here for making renderings. This is a light. So you can right click on things to select them. You can also use the A key. If I press the A key, nothing is selected. I press it again, everything's selected. Back and forth like that. If I want to delete something, you can select it, hit the X key, your little menu, delete it. So I'm just going to get these out of here because I'm not going to make a rendering, so I don't need them. And I'm not going to use this cube, so I'm going to delete it as well. Now to make the prop holders, you basically just need cylinders. So you come down here to the Add menu, go up to Mesh, and over and up to Cylinder. Now you can change the size of things using the N menu. You hit the letter N, you get this little menu off to the side. And it's got the dimensions of the object here and the location of the object in the 3D coordinate system here. So you can change those things. So on this particular cylinder, if I come over here and go to say 0.6 and 0.6 in the Y direction, hit return, 0.6 in the Z direction, I get a little cylinder that's a 0.6 on my coordinate system, which will, if you import this as centimeters, will be 6 millimeters. And this gives its location. You can also zoom in and out with the scroll button. I forgot that. So I'm going to get this over here where I can see it and zoom in on it. Now, another thing that's really nice is you can set what's called the origin of the object. That's this little dot right here. When you start something from scratch, it's right in the center of the object. But you can change that. And I'm going to get this where I can see the bottom. It's selected. I'm going to come down here to where it says Object Mode and go to Edit Mode. That's where you can change things. In Edit Mode, you can select by either the vertices, the segments, or the faces. So right now you've got 3 buttons here. It's on vertices. The middle one is segments, and the far right one is faces. So I'm going to right click on the bottom of this cylinder. Now it's selected. And I'm going to do Shift S, and that'll pull up a little menu, and I can go to Cursor to Selected. That brings what's called the 3D cursor, this little dotted line one. And then go back to Object Mode and use this menu over here to do Origin to 3D Cursor. So now the coordinates up here in these 3 spots is all related to what that origin is. So if I go up here and go to 0, 0, 0, and I'm going to scroll back out, rotate this around so I can see it again. So now my little cylinder is sitting at the origin of my coordinate system. This will come in handy later when you go to stack things on top of each other, put one thing inside of another so you can know exactly where things are at. All right, a second thing that you can do for this kind of project is to like make a hole in this. If I want to place a hole for a carbon fiber rod to go in. And I'm going to do it like this. With that object selected, I'm just going to go over to duplicate. And without moving the mouse, I'm going to click twice. Duplicate, duplicate. The first one duplicates it, and the second one, then if I move the mouse, it would move to a different position. So now I actually have 2 of these cylinders in this exact same location. So the one of them is selected, so I'm going to come over here this time and do 0.3 for X, 0.3 for Y, and Z I'm going to go to 1. So now I have a longer cylinder, a I'm going to click it to select it. It's already selected. And I'm going to slide it down. You move objects within the 3D coordinate plane with these three arrows. Blue is Z, red is X, and green is Y. So now I have this cylinder going all the way through this other one. I'm going to leave it selected, and I'm going to actually punch a hole in it the size of this cylinder. Now up here in the top right, you've got all of your objects that are currently active. So that's that cylinder. If I wanted, I could click on that one and it gives me that one. And I'm going to leave this outside one selected. And in this little toolbar here, you'll see a little wrench. You click on the wrench, and that's a modifier. So I'm going to use this Add Modifier menu and come over here to Boolean. Now in this little menu right here, I'm going to select the object that I want to use, which is only other object. So I select that, and it starts to look like this. The one disappeared, and the reason is that it's set on intersect. So it's showing you where the two objects intersect. And all these little lines are the little different places where it's showing you. On occasion, you will, when you do this, it won't show all these things. It'll just show a line at the top and then a line on the bottom, and then it won't make the faces on the inside. But if your objects aren't too complicated, it usually works. So over here, I'm going to come, instead of intersect, I'm going to make this say difference, and then apply. So now if I click on this inside cylinder and slide it out of the way, rotate this around, I now have a cylinder with a hole in it. Alright, here I have the components needed to make a prop holder. This one would be for a prop that goes over a 3mm shaft, and where the prop ends are 3mm. So I have this tube. It's 5mm in diameter, 2mm long, has a 3mm hole through it. This piece would be the center piece. It's 5mm in diameter, 5mm long, 3mm hole. This piece will be the little part that sticks up where you put a set screw to hold the prop in. And this is a 3mm cylinder that I'm going to use because we need to poke a couple more holes in these things. All right, I'm going to orient this with the origin in the center. This one, it has it on the bottom. If you want to change that, if you just highlight it, come over here to set origin, you can go to origin to geometry, which puts it back in the center. This one for the top, I'm going to leave it on the bottom. You'll see why later. So I'm going to reorient this to be horizontal, so it's the same as it would be when you're using it. I'm going to come over here to this rotation menu, and I'm going to rotate it around the y-axis. So I'm going to click the y-axis, 90 degrees, rotate it around. All right, now I'm going to put that at the origin so it's easier to deal with. It's already in the x and y coordinates of 0 here, but if I put this at 0.25, half of the diameter there, then it's going to be sitting at the origin right on the XY plane. A little easier to deal with that way. Now I still need a hole through the middle for the main drive shaft to go, so I'm going to take my 3mm cylinder here, and I'm going to put it at the origin. So 0x, 0y, and I'll just leave it there because it's going through. And I'm going to poke a hole then through this. So this is highlighted, so I can come over here and see that that's cylinder number 2. So that's what I want to take out. So I highlight the main piece, go to my little wrench over here for my modifier menu, do Add Modifier, Boolean, pick cylinder number 2 out of the list, do Difference, Apply. I'm going to move this out of the way now, and I'm going to double check. I want to try to, anytime you poke one of these holes when you have a complicated piece, double check that it actually made the faces here on the inside. Sometimes it'll just do the surface. if you have too complicated a figure with things that overlap, but that seems okay. All right, so now I've got my piece that's going to go in the center, and it also needs a hole now horizontally. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it to a position where I know what its position is. I'm just going to get it close here. So this is at x of 0, and I'm going to put it at y of exactly 2, and z of 0.25, which it's already set at. I'm going to take my 3 millimeter cylinder, rotate it 90 degrees around the y-axis, and put it at that same location. Let's see, let me remind myself what it was. It was 0.25. So x of 0, y of 2, and center at 0.25. All right, now it's a little bit off there because the origin was at the base. So I'm just going to slide it over. All I needed to do is go through there. I'm going to rotate this around. Just take a quick look at it. Yeah, it's in the center where I want it to be. All right, so that is still cylinder number 2. So click on the main part. Do my Boolean modifier using cylinder number 2. Difference, apply. Once again, move this out of the way. Kind of take a look at it just to make sure. Yep, I've got my faces there, exactly what I want. And I'm going to move that now onto the origin. So 0x, 0y, and z of 0.25, which is already set at. So now that's my little centerpiece. And once again, you could kind of try to look, highlight something else so you don't have those things in the way. Look through there, make sure that you don't have any holes in it, except where you want the holes. All right, now I can put my little ends on. Now, here's my piece. I'm going to just move it to the origin as a starting point. 0, 0, 0. And I'll just pull it up a little bit here. Now its origin is on the bottom, and with my piece here, I've got 1 millimeter here, and then 3 millimeters. So if I put this at 0.4 in the Z direction, and just to kind of visualize it, if I slide this out, highlight something else, zoom in on it, it's just right at the edge of the inner circle there, still touching all the way through. All right, so I'm just going to highlight it again, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball it to start with here, get it where I want it to be. I could measure this out, but for what it is, as long as it's somewhere close to the middle, looks like about negative 0.6 in the X direction is about right. That seems pretty close to the middle. Now I want one exactly on the other side, so since this is at the origin, I can just do the exact same measurement, only positive with a duplicate. So come over here without moving the mouse, click twice, make my X this time 0.6 positive, and there's my second one. So now I've got everything I need. I've got 2 places for my set screws to go, a place for my shafts to go for the propellers, and a place for the drive shaft. Now, if you feel that these, look like they're sticking up too far, we don't want to push them in any farther because it'll go into the hole for the prop shaft. And we could kind of cut those down the same way we make the holes. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. This time do add, mesh, and cube. All right, I'm going to rotate this around so I'm looking at it from the top. And I'm going to put this cube so it's over my piece. It's way low Z, so it's not going to be over, but that's okay. And I'm going to change it Z here. Rotate it around so I'm looking at it from the front. Zoom in a little bit. And just drop this cube down until that's about the height that I want those things to be. And then I could do the exact same thing with a Boolean modifier. I select one of these. Modifier, Boolean, select the cube. Difference. I'll do the other one without moving anything. Boolean, cube, difference, apply. And now I could slide this out of the way, and what I did here was I forgot to apply it. So that messed that up. So I'm going to redo this one. I may be able to just click apply. I'm not sure. Nope. Okay, I messed up, so I'm going to do Control Z. Move that back. There we go. All I had to do is apply that modifier. And there's my piece. All right, I don't need the cube anymore. I don't need this anymore, so I'm holding the Shift key and selecting both. X, delete. Now here's my piece. Now I want this all to be one, so I'm going to join these pieces all together. And I'm going to click on one. All right, now whenever the last one you click on is where the origin for this piece is going to be. So I'm going to use this center thing as the last thing. So click on those two, this, and then that. And then now my origin is there in the center in case I want to do with it something. And click on join. And now this is all joined together in one piece. If I wanted to make a second one, I could again click it. 2 clicks on duplicate. Just slide it, let's say in the Y direction. Now I've got 2 of them. Right now that it's all done, I want to make a file that can be printed from, which is an STL file. First thing I'm going to do is save this. I'm going to do Control S and click there. Now I'll do File, Export, STL, and just name it whatever you want to name it, and click Export. So now that STL file can be given to anybody with a 3D printer who should be able to print it for you.